We're in a residential garden, Brentwood, Tennessee, where we're going to focus on pollinators today. Nancy Coleman, hey, how are
Good morning,
you?
Sheri, I'm doing great. A little warm.
Yeah,
but I think
want
I'll
you.
make it.
Yeah. Could you please tell me about the thing that the Herb Society has
Yes.
started? That's why we're visiting you today.
Okay. The Herb Society of Nashville is part of the Herb Society of America, and they sponsor gardens across the country that are little oases for pollinators, and they're called green bridges. And my garden happens to be a green bridges garden.
And so you apply to do this.
Yes.
What's some of the criteria?
Of course, planting plants that are beneficial to pollinators, no pesticides or things like that, as much as you can, natural soil care.
So really you're not locked into any type of plant material?
No.
Okay,
No.
it's just something that draws the pollinators.
Right. I happen to have a mix of herbs, and most of them have some kind of herb focus because I personally like those, but it doesn't have to be specific to herbs.
Terrace gardening. You kind of had to, didn't you?
Yes, we are on a hillside here, and this is an old remodeled house. This is not a new build by any means. And originally the house had some gardens back here, some beds with railroad ties.
Okay.
Which we've been here over 30 years, so those have gone by the wayside. And we started with replacing those with some stone, and then added and expanded, you know, like you do, and added the fountain.
Let's talk about this beautiful plant.
Oh, these are asters. They're blooming a little early. Usually they're a fall bloomer.
Everything's a little early this year. Have you noticed?
I think it's
the wet
warmed
spring?
up and the wet spring, etc. So what I'll probably do is when they're through blooming, kind of like you do with mums, I'll cut them back and
see if
hopefully
they
get
do
a
it again,
rebloom in the
reblush.
fall. Sheri, this is ARP rosemary that survived the severe freeze.
So ARP is one of the winter hardy ones.
Yes,
they even
it's-
grow up in zone 4, 5, and 6.
And they do quite well here. So it's one of my favorite ones to include. The gray is Palace Castle Artemisia, and I kind of use it as a backdrop for some of the other blooms. And it has survived several years. It's come back from the freeze. I prune it down so that it doesn't get higher than the wall, and
Okay.
I think it makes a really nice backdrop for the other colorful plants.
And we've got some gorgeous coneflowers here.
Yes, this is a nice little focal point here on the end with the orange coneflower. You'll note I have several varieties of it as well. Very hardy in this area. There are lots of different colors you can incorporate into the garden.
I noticed that you had phlox in a couple spots,
Yes,
and phlox is one of my favorite
I love phlox.
cottage flowers anyways, but the pollinators really like it.
Yes, they do. They'll be covered up. We've got some phlox here, some tucked back in the other corners. My grandson actually planted one for me.
Oh,
which I
nice.
love.
That's a
So
good
he
move.
likes to come over and check it out, see how it's surviving. It's kind of fun. The whole family kind of comes and occasionally gardens.
Nice. Salvias are one of my favorites, probably because they come back so heartedly and they're so beautiful in the summer and the heat. And this one is almost done blooming, but it's still showing a little bit. This is purple.
Right.
And then what do we have down here?
This is a different varietal, but also purple.
Okay.
Purple, if you'll walk through the house, you'll see that purple's one of my favorite colors. But I do love them for many of the same reasons.
And
that
then
we have. And
back
then I
here,
have a beautiful red one back here.
Yep.
That has been, I love them because they're so hardy.
Right,
And
right.
they do come back every year. This poor plant has survived 3 moves in the garden.
Oh, wow. 3
So-
moves at this location?
At
or
this location, I believe this one is called Lipstick.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, it looks like a
fancy red
two.
blooms.
Yes.
Yes.
One of my favorites, showstoppers
Yes.
in the garden. What you got going here?
The hibiscus is one of my favorites. I grew up in the tropics
Did you?
as a child, yes. And we had some gorgeous hibiscus plants around our home. And of course, here in Tennessee, those particular varietals are not hardy. But one day on a walk through Cheekwood, I saw these and searched them out, and I have planted several because they are a wonderful memory plant for me. And you can see they're blooming beautifully in this heat, akin to the tropics.
And this is a great pollinator, along
Yes.
with what's in front of it, a lavender.
Yes,
What
a
variety is that lavender? Do you know?
I think this is a Provence, which
Okay.
is one of my favorites.
Okay.
And you can see there's bees crawling on it now.
Nice long
It
stems.
also is a survivor plant. It has come through the cold winters that we've had and actually done very well, which is uncharacteristic of this variety. But I think
it's kind of protected in here. It's nested into the
protected,
wall. Yeah.
into the wall, which kind of protects it from the winds, and I think may keep it a little warmer, so it's done well, and it is putting on a show this spring.
I want to talk about your Flagstone walkway and what you got growing in it.
All right. This Flagstone walkway was a remedy. This is where most of the water drains off our hillside and down through this area and down and around. We could never get anything to grow here, and it was an eyesore. We tried different varietals of grass, all of that, and everything kept washing. So we got the notion of creating sort of an extra patio, which is what we did with the flagstones. They're just filled with fine gravel and then lined with the mondo grass, which creates interest. It is filled in really well.
But it's unique because you popped it in the center
we
too,
popped it in the
for a little
center,
accent.
And we are irrigated,
interest.
so the little irrigation valves come up in the center and
Oh.
then water this area. But it has created a nice area where we used to have an eyesore, so we're really kind of pleased at the way it turned out. We had some wonderful young men that helped us lay out
The necessity
flagstones.
worked out.
Yes.
I see several of these in your garden. Let's talk about it.
Okay, the Baptisia or false indigo is a plant that, again, is very hardy in this area. It comes up every spring. I've had them for several years. This particular varietal blooms blue. And then when it's through blooming, it has this beautiful dark pod that
It
hangs
drops
with the
seeds everywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
But I happen to like them. That color is one of my favorites. You see some purple cone flowers mixed in. And here in the center, I've got a cardinal flower that's returning as a surprise.
That's
I
very-
planted that several years ago
Very pretty.
and hadn't seen it for a while, but it decided to return this year. So it should shoot up a little more. And hopefully now that it's got its feet, it'll come back every year.
And right here?
And here in the corner is some sedum. Again, a very hardy plant. It's protected here from the deer. I don't think they get in this close. And in the fall, it has these beautiful light lavender flower heads. And with the morning dew, they look like they're coated in ice and sparkles. So we really like that one too.
Pretty.
It'll be very pretty in the fall.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
What is it?
This is a Rose of Sharon. It's also referred to as a mallow. These again are quite hardy. I tend to focus on those. Beautifully.
Shrubs and tree form, correct?
Yes, shrubs and tree form. This is more of a shrub.
Different colors as well.
Different colors. I'm particularly partial to the purples and blues, so we have a purple, but they have a beautiful white and a gorgeous red mallow as well, if your taste runs to those. And it's framed behind this little Carolina jasmine that early in the season blooms yellow.
Nancy, I want to tell you thank you very much
You are
for
so
sharing your
welcome.
gardens
I'm
with
so
us.
glad that you came.
And educating our viewers about pollinators
Well,
and what
thank
the
you,
Earth Society
thank
of
you.
America is doing for those.
I hope that they'll inquire. They can just go on the web to Herb Society of America and click on Green Bridges, and it'll tell them all about it.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for sharing. It's been
I
great.
hope you all will come down and enjoy a little glass of hibiscus lavender tea
Oh, yum.
on this warm day.
If you like gardening, you'll want to subscribe to this channel. We showcase gardeners, plants, and the joy that growing can bring.